Some common sense in our day with Canada's money coach, Judith Kane. Welcome back to the Milkman Show. It's always great to talk to
Hello.
you. I loved yesterday's conversation, by the way. You may have money in pensions you didn't realize that were there. And those are the kinds of conversations that you just don't hear anywhere else other than here with you. And today you want us to take a look around the house. Like me, for example, I just know that probably 80% of what I spend on heating bills this past winter literally went right out the windows. My place is a sieve. So you want to see if we can't be saving some money by looking at doing window upgrades and whatnot. So what advice do you have today for us?
So when we lived in Ottawa, we had a house that was built in the 50s and had no insulation, right?
Oh,
Maybe phone books, I don't know, but really no insulation.
yep.
And so our first kind of winter month there, our hydro bill was $850.
Okay.
Yeah. Electric heat, $850. So the next day, my husband was on the phone to the insulation people and said, what is it that we can do? So honestly, they were there 2 weeks later and they blew in insulation in our attic and they did spray on insulation in our basement.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the bill was, but it was no more than $5,000 to have that done then. This was in 2000 and probably 14 or 15. So that's what we paid to get this
So in
done.
6 months, you're ahead of the game.
Well, I don't know if it was 6 months
Well,
because
not
of
6
course summer comes and then we were quite in a shaded lot. So, the summertime we didn't have air conditioning. But the point is, even if it was 5 years, it was definitely worth, saving the money on. And if you can't afford it and you put it on a line of credit and your line of credit is a low interest rate, it extends the payback on that, but it's still better from an environmental point of view to do that kind of thing to your house. And there actually are, each province is different. And in the States, they also have they have energy rebates, and the federal government has one, and the provincial governments tend to have them. And so whatever you do, you have someone come in and do an energy audit. So they basically say you should replace your windows, you should spray in foam on your walls downstairs. If you have an unfinished basement, you should spray foam, not spray foam, but spray in insulation into your attic. You should seal up your doors. You should, change your furnace, like all these things that they tell you that you do. And then you choose what you want to do based on what the energy rebates are that you get from the government.
So how do you get an energy audit? Who do you contact for that?
Oh, there's some really great companies around that will come in and honestly, you just have to Google energy audit or ask your friends, ask for referrals, because that's going to be the best way to find somebody, is have somebody recommend a company that they have personally worked with. Make sure that you put that qualification in. Don't just recommend it because your brother-in-law owns the company.
I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
Exactly. Work with, get a referral from someone who's actually worked with this company. Yep. So if you can't, so they come in and they do the audit, and then you have to have them come back in and do another audit that says, this is how much improvement there has been based on whatever you have done to your house. So that's usually how you get the rebates.
So it's their numbers, their audit that you are now submitting. You just don't go to the government and say, I bought new windows, show me the money.
Correct. That's correct. Yeah. So, and let's talk about windows, because you mentioned that your windows, you're just shoveling money out the windows, right?
They're rotting. It's a disaster.
I know it is. It is hard when things like that, the infrastructure of your house starts to have problems, because those are usually very expensive. So for windows, we have what I consider to be good windows, but we also have some of the biggest winds in Canada in the Maritimes.
True.
And in the wintertime, they blow the cold into the house, and it's actually, the window itself is actually quite cold. So what my husband does is he puts plastic on the windows for the wintertime.
I have done that, but you know what? Then the whole environmental movement just, I can hear them shouting at me going, don't use plastic. It's going to end up in a landfill.
I know. But, check your recycling programs to see if you can recycle the plastic that you've used on your windows. We have a recycling program for bags in our province. So I put that plastic in there hoping that it qualifies. It hasn't said that there's nothing on the sheet that they send you that says it doesn't.
Well,
Anyway,
that's the thing. I don't know if it does and I don't know if it doesn't, so I'm reluctant to do it.
yeah. Another thing that you can do that is an inexpensive way to do it is to put an electronic thermostat on, and one that you can set the timer. So if, let's pretend COVID is over and everybody's back to work, so they're not in the house from 9 to 5. So have a thermostat that comes on at 4 o'clock. So by the time you get home at 5 o'clock, are you laughing about the COVID?
No, I have that thermostat. I have the Nest thermostat, and it's got the whole eco feature on it, and it sort of it senses movement in the house or not, and then it decides, I'm going to keep it at 17 since there's no movement around. Except I'm in my studio in the basement. Right? So I'm home, but I'm in the studio in my basement. And by the time I go upstairs, it's so cold, Judith. And I set this thing up when I was still working, when Sue was working, I was working. And now, for 5 years, I've been like, I just don't know how to reprogram this thing. But I know, yes, they do. They work, and they work very, very well. And they do save you some money because they are so smart.
And I'm going to say a couple things about that, John. If you're sitting downstairs long enough that it's so cold upstairs, you need to move more.
Now you're starting to sound like my physician. All right, but you are our money coach. Judith Kane, Canada's money coach, and always available to answer listener emails as well. How do they get in touch with you?
You can email me at judith@judithkane.com for any questions you have, and I'm happy to refer other advisors because I'm not taking any clients on.